Hello, I'm Rob Thomas with Club and Resort Business, and welcome to another episode of the Club and Resort Talks podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by Southern Aluminum. Southern Aluminum is the leading manufacturer of innovative linenless meeting and event furniture. For 45 years, the company has pioneered a wide range of furniture, including meeting and banquet tables, event cocktail tables, mobile nesting buffets, mobile bar and beverage systems, retail-style shelving, and much, much more. The suite of linenless solutions can complement any space designed through multifaceted production customization. Learn more at southernaluminum.com. We got that taken care of. Let's introduce you to Phil Keren, our senior editor. Phil? Phil? All right, Abe. That's on me. Phil's not here. It's just me today. So I'm flying solo. He's on vacation. He'll be back next week. So if you're missing Phil's news, sorry. It's just you're stuck with me today. With the 4th of July yesterday, we missed our Thursday 3. So with that in mind, I thought I would do this week's news in the form of our Thursday 3. So let's kick it off. Number 1. We continue to post articles from our 18th annual Ideas issue. Read about the Heartfelt Greetings Initiative at the club at Admirals Cove in Jupiter, Florida. The club introduced personalized video holiday greetings in an effort to deepen connections during the holiday season. What is your club doing to strengthen the community there? Let me know. rthomas at wtwhmedia.com. Number 2. Scroll down to our What's New section. Our most read article this week was about The Shoe, designed by Reese Jones, a 9-hole golf course at Colonial Williamsburg Resorts. The new course's smaller footprint will make it easier to maintain and more enjoyable for guests seeking a quick round of golf. Construction is set to begin this month, with the course expected to open in the summer of 2025. Last but not least, number 3. Did you watch our latest episode of the Club and Resorts Talks podcast? The one before this one. On that episode, I spoke with John Woodishick, Senior Vice President and General Manager of the Hills Country Club in Austin, Texas. Woodishick discussed the comprehensive renovations at the club's Live Oak golf course. These efforts are part of an ongoing reinvestment project through Invited at the club, focused on creating a refined yet inviting environment that best serves today's members. Okay, short and sweet. I want to throw it right away to Mike Dowd, General Manager, COO of Oakdale Golf and Country Club in California. The club finished building 8 new pickleball courts and is adding an event pavilion and outdoor patio bar, as well as a bocce area within the next couple of months. A lot going on at the club. This comes on the heels of a clubhouse refresh, bunker renovation, and expansion to 6 sets of tees on the golf course. So many members can play there now. It's terrific. Mike talks all about the thought process behind that. So without further ado, let's throw it to Mike. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined here by Mike Dowd, PGA General Manager, COO of Oakdale, California Golf and Country Club, Oakdale Golf and Country Club in Oakdale, California. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. Glad to be here.
Hey, thank you for being here. Before we get into everything you got going on, if you could give us a 10,000 foot view of what Oakdale Golf and Country Club is all about.
Sure. It's, we are, I think, definitely one of those clubs that I would say everybody feels welcome at, everybody's comfortable at, very down to earth. It's a very active club. The club itself has always been known for just an exceptional golf course. It's a players club. People who like to play a lot of golf, have joined here historically because they say they never get sick of the track, and it's just a really, really good golf course and golf club. A lot of what we're going to talk about is how we're expanding into other things. Traditionally, we've been primarily a golf club first, and so we're expanding our horizons, so to speak.
Well, let's get into some of those horizons, and right behind you, underneath your computer monitor, it looks like we have a pickleball paddle or racket.
Oh yeah,
you just added 8 new pickleball courts.
I've got to be completely full disclosure here. It's one that hasn't been used actually on a pickleball court yet. I own a pickleball paddle and I plan to use it now that we have courts open, but it was primarily for demonstration going through this process. So now it's finally going to get some use.
All right, so 8 new pickleball courts, and they look fantastic. And it seems like one of the courts is taped off for some basketball, which my son would absolutely love. How will these pickleball courts kind of incorporate within the existing facility?
It's interesting. It's something that we've talked about for more than a handful of years, and it was originally planned to be on a different part of the property, but as things happen, we ended up having to move them, and they're in the location what used to be our old cart building, which I showed you some pictures of the new one we put up. We kind of had some dead space there that hadn't really been designated for anything, and everybody more and more was wanting pickleball. So ultimately, we decided to put them there. They're adjacent to the main clubhouse. It's a good, convenient location. We have members who already have pickleball courts in their yard, and it's just become something that I know it's the fastest growing sport in the United States, and it feels like in and around Oakdale it might be growing faster than it is nationally. So it was a lot of pent up demand, and technically speaking, tomorrow is July 4th is our 63rd anniversary, and it's the date we're going to officially open the courts. So.
That's fantastic. It's just massive right now. And if your club doesn't have pickleball, it seems like you're missing out. So I'm glad you guys have that. You and I, before we got on here, we're talking a little bit about an event pavilion, how the tent that you had, there were some issues with it. So now we have a new pavilion going up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's in the area immediately between the new pickleball courts and the existing clubhouse. It used to be an event tent, and it was, it served its purpose for a lot of years. And probably if there was a lamentation amongst the membership about it from the outset was that maybe why didn't we build more of a permanent structure? Well, Mother Nature took care of it for us last winter and decided that the tent would be no more. And so as a part of all these different renovations we're doing, we decided to embark upon replacing it with a permanent structure that will not only be larger than the existing one, but obviously aesthetically much more of an enhancement to the club. And we'll have some capability to be not just a sort of an outdoor pavilion space, but we will be able to do some things to enclose it and have events there in the wintertime if we want to.
So it's going to be more than just a place to congregate after a big tournament, right? You're having a couple of beers, maybe, cut into some burgers and hot dogs. You're talking about you can really dress it up and host some weddings, some events.
Yeah, and we did that previously. We had a lot of weddings and reunions, and our invitationals and a lot of our bigger events. With being in California, at least probably 8 to 9 months out of the year, we've got a pretty good climate, and a lot of people prefer to be outdoors if they can, as long as the weather permits. And so we did all kinds of things, from outdoor concerts and just a little bit of everything out there. So it's an event space that is heavily used as it is, and now I think it'll just even be used that much more because, with the type of structure that we're putting up, it's just going to be more appealing, especially for those events like weddings and those kind of higher end type of events.
What kind of a timeline you looking at?
Well, we broke ground on the event pavilion this past month, and it's about a 90-day project from start to finish. So we expect by, late summer, early fall, we'll probably be hosting events under there.
Well, as we're going along, I'm sharing some images. This is kind of like an inside, behind the scenes type look here. So I'm going to be right now showing these pictures of a gorgeous patio, outdoor patio, and bocce ball courts. Tell us a little bit about that project.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like probably not unlike a lot of clubs, but when COVID came, I what was initially intended expanded our outdoor patio. It was supposed to be temporary because it encompassed an area that used to be the access from hole number 9 to hole number 10. We had a big concrete cart path and parking area. Well, we just kind of took it over and closed it down and forced everybody around the front of the clubhouse to get to the 10th tee. Well, COVID came and went, and nobody wanted to take away the patio. It was just, it became the space where most of the time that's where everybody wanted to be. And they just, as part of this renovation, decided though, but we need to do something a little more planned and expand on this concept. People wanted to be outdoors. So we decided not only did we want to expand the patio and covered space and dress it up a little bit, but we'll put a kind of a resort style outdoor bar, and adjacent to that, bocce courts, which is another amenity that we have a lot of demand for. And so it's just, that side of our clubhouse now has just, the use of it has just continued to grow, and that's where people want to be. We're actually even, it's adjacent to, which you can't see in the renderings, but it's adjacent to our driving range tee. And I'm about to put lights on the driving range as well too. So we'll have things going on here, not just during the day, but into the evening, both from, just a food and beverage standpoint, but from a recreation standpoint with the bocce, and, the pickleball courts are lighted, and now the driving range is going to be lighted. I mean, this next week or 10 days here, work forecast to be in the upper hundreds every day for about 10 days. But having lights on the driving range, a lot of people, that range all afternoon doesn't get used when it's that hot out there. But we have members that like to come after work, and when it starts to cool down and hit balls, and this will allow them to do that well into the other side of the season. So
I imagine sitting around the bar having a couple cocktails after a round. One guy tells another guy, "I can hit the ball farther than you, old bull. You can't do that." Well, let's step on over to the driving range and prove it right under the lights.
yeah, they're going to have multiple ways to challenge each other now at post-round cocktails. So
Gorgeous. I love it. I love it. Okay, obviously your members have been following along. They know what's going on. They're keeping abreast. How are you marketing this to the to outside for prospective members? So all these new amenities that are on their way.
yeah, I mean, we have been doing it through a myriad of sources. Obviously, like a lot of people today, social media is a big channel for that, and I have one of the best people anywhere involved with that. I'm very lucky to have our marketing director who does a lot of stuff, on a grander scale than Oakdale Golf and Country Club, but he's near and dear. This is a place that's near and dear to his heart. So I've got some really good things that we do through social media, but we do everything too. And Mark, membership director, he goes everything from the farmers markets and has booths at places like that, and different, local community events and so forth. We have open house type mixers. We try to do a lot with engaging our own members to get their friends and family here to the club, because I think that more than anything, that's our target market. The friends and family of our members, the more friends we have here, not only does it make for a tighter knit club, club that's, more family and friend oriented, but it's just the outreach, and especially in social media that you have, if you can reach the contacts of your members, because at this day and age, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or, a lot of them have a myriad of contacts. And if you can utilize that network, that is very powerful. A lot more than you can do in a lot of other ways, and for less expensive. So that's been very effective for us.
You mentioned in that families. I grew up on a golf course that had forward tees. We called them ladies' tees at the time. Forward tees, regular white tees, and then championship tees, 3 sets of tees. And that's common. Some golf courses I grew up on had 2 sets of tees, ladies and men's. You just completed a project to go now to 6 sets of tees. How are you seeing that with your members? Are we have like new people coming out, ladies, kids, some seniors getting back on the golf course? What are you seeing?
Well, I think, it was a project that, it was like, I will say this, I was a golf professional here for 18 or 19 years before I became the general manager for the last 5 or so. And my goal, I always said, just for the enjoyment of the game and for pace of play, was for us to expand to 5 sets of tees. Well, with this renovation, as we went through it, what we really realized when we analyzed the different facets of people playing here was 5 wasn't even really enough, because we had multiple combo sets. And yeah, maybe we're trying to be a little bit of something to everybody, but a combo set often means you're either playing way forward or way backward. And none of the holes tend to really play to, yeah, the overall yardage might net out to where you want to be, but the individual holes don't play in a way that might suit your tastes or abilities. So we wanted to try to make, for the most part, distinctly different sets of tees for players of all levels. We have a very, very active academy and junior program. We have literally hundreds of kids who play golf out here. And most of them, need to be playing at sets of tees that are up around 5,000 yards, or maybe even a little less than that. We have even family tees we put out on occasion, and all the way to championship players that are close to 7,000 yards. And we're seeing, since we've opened them, some shifts, some players that were playing at sets of tees that were really too far for them, but the next set was way too far forward. So we've kind of picked that happy medium, and it's been, and we had that in both situations for both the men and the ladies here. So now we have sets that are distinctly different where you play from. The course plays more, appropriately for your ability level and how far you hit the ball. And it does help our pace of play. We have a very difficult golf course. There's no 2 ways about it. It's a very challenging golf course, especially if you play it from length. And if you're playing it from too far for your ability to drive the ball, most people, the old saying here was, well, geez, I joined Oakdale, my handicap went up 5 shots. Well, now you can find a set of tees that more appropriately fits your ability level and how far you hit the ball. And I think everybody, is enjoying that quite a bit.
So staffing is an issue industry-wide, but not just industry-wide, countrywide. This is probably prior to COVID, and certainly COVID made things even more difficult. With the extra set of tees, you got more golfers. With the bocce ball courts, you got the patio, the night driving range, the event pavilion. So much stuff going on. When everything's completed, are you going to have to add staff, or are you set with people you have?
There's some subtle additions we're going to have to make, in maintenance, in bar staff. But we looked at that pretty extensively in advance. And a lot of the things we're doing, we're somewhat just shifting hours as well. Obviously, a whole new bar is going to require at certain times, another bartender. But there were times, we're sort of better serving the members from a better location, where I might have need, say, at certain hours, 3 bartenders inside. Now I'll be 2 and 1. And it'll better facilitate people out on the patio. The service will be better. Sometimes it might be the same number of bartenders, but just an extra server. But there will be, because there are expanded hours, there'll be a little bit of that. But it's like, driving range hours, not significantly. We'll have a staff member that comes in a little later than they traditionally have, but not working significantly more hours. And we felt that, one, the service to our membership, the additional members we're going to get because of all these amenities, and the additional revenue we're going to drive because of things like, bocce ball, or the driving range being open at night, or having that resort bar, or pickleball, is going to add revenue from, a food and beverage standpoint, especially just, the ancillary revenue of more people being there at different hours now.
With the new pickleball courts, you talking about members and added members, will you have broken down so you have like a racket membership, a golf membership, total package, social membership? Are there going to be different levels now?
We actually had that already. We had a sports membership that, to be honest with you, for the most part, sports meant golf. But it was a golf light, if you could say, for lack of a better term. People either don't have the time or maybe the current income to be a full golf membership, that will now incorporate pickleball and be a little more focused on pickleball and things like bocce. And we did it somewhat because there was a demand, definitely, but also in anticipation of these amenities. So we were trying to just be ahead of it, and we've been selling it for a while, that this is one of the privileges you're going to get when you join at this level.
Sure. Hey, I got out ahead of myself a little bit there.
Sure.
If we can jump back to staffing real quick. One of the things, attracting staff is tough. Retaining staff is vital to our success, right? You get somebody, you train somebody, if they're there for 6 months, that's a lot. So you want them to be there for years down the road, getting you familiar with not only the facility, but the members. What is there anything that Oakdale does special that maybe other clubs can look at, how you're retaining your staff, keeping your best employees and having them thrive and flourish?
Yeah, I mean, and I think if you aren't real familiar with it, but in California, especially in food and beverage, with the new labor laws as it relates to fast food, it's even more challenging. But prior to that, in many situations, where maybe historically in the past, you could hire certain positions at minimum wage and train up from there. We just haven't been able to do that, and we've had to, we've increased compensation, almost across the board in a lot of situations, but especially in certain positions in maintenance and in food and beverage. But I think, and this is not like, magic here, but we have a pretty rich benefits package. And we, from, not only health benefits, but to your family, and pretty well, reimbursed health benefits, 401k. We do a lot of different things, free meals, golf privileges. I mean, we try to attack it from a lot of different angles, but I'll be honest with you too, our membership is very generous, and there are a handful of times and ways during the year that, they compensate the staff through some different types of bonuses and so forth, that really help out and really say a lot to what, how they feel about their staff, and the level of importance they take on having and keeping good staff members here. So I think it's just multifaceted, and I don't think that I may be doing anything, way off the reservation better than anybody else. But I think more than anything, just investing in your staff and making them understand, that you care about them, they're people, and that you want them there and you appreciate them. And I think that goes, from the board to the membership to myself and on down. So
Certainly helps when you have members taking an active role in making the club a better place to be for not only the members, but also the employees.
Absolutely.
Speaking of those members, you've had an awful lot going on. You've got an awful lot going on right now. How are you keeping them up to date? Or you say social media is one of the ways. Are there newsletters? Are there videos? Are there updates on a regular basis?
All of the above. Yeah. I have a weekly newsletter. I have a monthly newsletter. I have email blasts, social media. We have postings around the clubhouse, video screens. There's a whole lot of things we do. I actually heard something recently from one of a fellow GM about sort of a lamentation of the fact that I do this, and this. And still some people will say, where did this come from? I never even heard about this. And it was pointed out, I've told you in 12 different ways just in the last week you must not pay attention to anything. It's a challenge for all of us because I think to a certain degree, in our efforts to make sure we reach everyone, we've all collectively engaged in information overload. And it's hard because people have become so selective in what they actually pay attention to. And it's like on one hand, you've got to be engaged in everything because you're maybe going to get this person in that channel and that person in this channel, and you're not going to get everybody in any one. Yeah, things were simpler maybe back in the day when you had a monthly newsletter, and if you want to know what's going on at the club, you better read it, pay attention to it. Now you feel like sometimes you got to hand deliver things to people's doorstep and make sure they understand what's going on. But you know, it ultimately at some point, you know, if you're doing all those things and you're engaged in all that, they do have to take some responsibility for it. So it's, I think, you know, you engage in as much and as often as you can and is reasonable. And I think the key, though, more than anything I've found is just consistency. You have to pick a few select channels that they can know and expect they're going to get their information from, and be consistent with them and do it as well as you can, as on time as you can, and you know, in a way that I will say too, and I'm guilty of this for sure. I can be a little verbose, especially in the written word. I just, my background of being, you know, liking to write, sometimes I have to pare things down a little bit. And what, you know, short and sweet and to the point probably is better often, you know, or more often better than anything else. And if you get anything, I hate to say it, but like video is far better communication medium a lot of times than text these days, or if at least has pictures that go along with it to explain what you're talking about. If you get more than a paragraph, and if it's especially if it's a paragraph with more than about 3 or 4 sentences, a lot of people's eyes start to glaze over. So it's you know, bullet points and big picture stuff, and then you know, if they're really, you know, wanting to know more, maybe there's a click through to find out more, you know. But that's kind of the approach we take.
You're preaching to the choir. You know, we read a big old glossy magazine every month, and pictures tell, you know, tell the story. We've talked a lot about everything going on outside of the club, the driving range, the golf course, the patio, bocce ball, event pavilion, but you've also made improvements inside the clubhouse. You had mentioned earlier in one of our communications about the bar and the dining room kind of being separated and now allowing access. Can you talk a little bit about that project?
Sure. It's something that it just sort of solved a problem we've had for a long time. The original clubhouse was built basically with the bar and the dining room adjacent to each other. And in some ways that was effective for certain types of events, certainly. But as the patio culture developed and more people wanted to be outside on the opposite side of the clubhouse from where our main entrance was, it was a little awkward to get there. You either had to walk around one side or the other of the clubhouse, or you had to walk through the dining room in kind of a circuitous path that walked through diners to get out the back door to the patio. So it not only made it, you know, if you're trying to have a private event in there or something, a little problematic because people were constantly wanting to walk through the event and so forth, but it made it difficult from a service standpoint for our staff now serving the patio, coming from the kitchen, because they had to go through this same route to get to where most of the people were. So we kind of divided the clubhouse in half essentially, and it through from our main entrance created a big entry hall that went straight through to the outdoor patio in the back. And we, you know, architecturally made it fit with the building and added some interesting, you know, decor, as well as private wine lockers for our members that we, you know, we had wine lockers before, but they were kind of hidden in the food and beverage director's office. And, you know, now it's sort of a display piece. But more than anything, it does a lot of things. When you enter the club, you've got a much more impressive entrance. And now you have, you know, an avenue to get to where you need to go, while all those areas can be closed off at the same time. So if I want to have a private event bar, private event in the dining room, or and whatever, people can still go through the clubhouse and go to the bar, go to the patio and not interrupt that, while our servers can now directly access the patio in a, much, more efficient way that helps, speed up service times and keeps them from also interrupting diners that they're not facilitating.
All right, Mike, no rest for the wicked. You're doing an awful lot. I don't want to put even more on your plate, but if you could take your crystal ball out, look 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, what do you foresee happening? Anything more at Oakdale? Times may change, but what kind of project are you looking at long term?
A handful of things right now. I just had some renderings done for, and I don't know if you noticed, there's an event building, or not event building, it's a storage building right now next to the pickleball courts, which we were looking at possibly retrofitting and turning into either a kids sort of club center, and or we're also looking at long-term possibly building a fitness center. Probably the size and location, location would make sense for both, but we have a very, I think like a lot of clubs, our membership is really growing at the younger end. And we have not only a really active academy program, but we just have a lot of younger people around the club. We have lots of events that are family oriented, but on a day-to-day basis, we don't have a good place for the kids to go and kind of hang out. If they're not playing basketball, or if they get into pickleball, or if they're not in a junior academy or something like that, there's no real good sort of hangout for them. And it's something that I think we have a lot of demand for, that they just kind of have their own space. And I've seen it done pretty well in some places, and I think it would not only be a great amenity used by our existing membership, but it would be also a great selling point to a lot of the young families in our community, because I think this day and age, what a lot of young families are looking for is, not just a place to go and recreate and be together as a family, but they know everybody's gonna want to do the same thing at the same time, but they want a safe haven, a place they know they can go and feel like, hey, when I come here, my family, I don't have to worry about anything. It's a great place for them and to be together, but it's also a safe place for them. And the more there is for the kids, I think it just makes it that much of an easier sell, while at the same time, hate to say it, but we're in an industry that when your clientele is from 30 to 80 and thereabouts, there's some people that maybe don't want the kids in their face all the time. Okay, they would like them to have their own place so they can kind of have their own space. And so I think it serves two purposes. But that and a fitness center, as far as amenities, are things we're considering more long term. And then we have some nuts and bolts projects, like anything, upgrading the infrastructure. We're going to have to put our building is a slightly older building, and it was not built with fire sprinklers. That's something we have to consider very soon in California, especially. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. They're going to tell us that, you can't put this off any longer. So, we're trying to start planning for that. And, some things with our irrigation infrastructure, we did address some of that for sure during this past renovation, but there's always things that you got to plan for in the future for the golf course. It's still, as much as we're doing a lot of new things, we're a golf club first and foremost, and we want to continue to invest in our golf course and try to make it the best anywhere around.
Make sure you keep us up to date on everything that's going on at the club. Mike Dowd, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Rob.